Hey, my name is Melissa Hayes, and I'm going to be leading you through an awareness through movement lesson today in a seated position. So wherever you are in seated is perfect. You don't have to make any changes wherever you are in your environment. It's just right. So let's begin by checking into your own felt sense. Some people like to close their eyes. Some people like to check in with their breath. How do you go about sensing yourself, your own felt sense of your body? If you were to only have 1, 2, maybe 3 lines to draw this felt sense of yourself, what shape would you make to communicate, to convey, this is how I feel right now? And then once you've got that for yourself, bring the spotlight of your attention to just your skull and the way that it rests atop your spine. Where between your head and your torso is the distance the shortest, would you say? Would you say that your chin and your sternum are further apart than, say, your back of your skull and where your shoulders begin? Would you say that your right ear is closer to your right shoulder or your left ear is closer to your left shoulder? Any image that you need to use to find where does your head kind of tilt a little bit more or rotate a little bit more? If the center of your vertebrae, your cervical vertebrae was the center of a clock, and there were numbers all the way around your head, which number would sort of indicate the distance that's the shortest? Would it be pretty clear, like 4 o'clock? Is it something complex? Once you've found it, even if you have to make something up, go ahead and shorten it a little bit more. Accentuate what you sense is already going on there. Just shorten it more. And how do you do that? Is it a big movement? Is it a little movement? Do you involve a lot of yourself or just a little bit of yourself? Together, let's all tilt our chin in the direction of our sternum. Just shortening the distance there between the chin and the sternum. Do it by just only moving your chin in the direction of your sternum a couple times. And then a couple times have your sternum raise in the direction of your chin. And then a couple times have them both meet. Well, they're not going to actually meet, but they're going to both be going in the same direction at the same time. No one's leading. They're both working in harmony. It's kind of like a swan feeling. And then pause for a moment, take a rest for a moment. And then shorten the distance now between your chin and your pubic bone. So the front of your pelvis and your chin. So do it a few times where it's really just your head kind of traveling a little bit in that direction without any pain, just how much is enough for you to know that, yeah, that distance shortened a little bit. And then a couple of times shorten the distance by just having the movement primarily leading from the pelvis. The front of your pelvis sort of you have to tip your pelvis a little bit. This might not be as accessible. Just what's easy? If they start to begin to both go in the direction, it's really asking a lot of all the spine to participate. So just let that happen. Let your whole body participate in this folding and shortening of the front of yourself. And then come on back and pause again. And even just right now, take a moment to check in with that felt sense again. What are you noticing? What's changing? Does anything surprise you? What happens when you shorten the distance between just your right shoulder and your right hip? How do you do that? How many different ways are there? If you bring just your right shoulder down a little bit, something has to happen in your ribs. You get shorter somewhere else. If your pelvis stays relatively quiet and you're just using your shoulder and your head to help you, and then a couple times bring more of yourself, like where everything gets to participate that you want to. Would you lift the right side of your hip a little bit, as if you could just, even just a small amount, like that you could put a piece of paper under there and sit on it? That makes a difference. If you do it kind of quickly, does that help a little bit? Does it help clarify? If you were to bring your right ear in the direction of your right shoulder, and so it's a full body bending to the right, what do you do with your foot? It's helpful to make each movement brand new, to come all the way out of the bend or the shortening before beginning the next one. Sometimes something new can emerge if you do that. So just look for that. Would you press somewhere in your foot? Or would you prefer not to press somewhere in your foot? What happens with your opposite sit bone, like where you're sitting? Does the weight increase a little bit on that side? Does that help you? Okay, next time you're back up again, I want to invite you to shorten the distance now between the back of your head and your sacrum. Starting first with just your head, the smallest amount, maybe no one could even really tell. The one that really somebody might not be able to tell, if it was only your sacrum that you were moving in the direction of your head, that could be really small, totally imperceptible, but it would still be happening. You would know that you're shortening a little bit the distance between your sacrum and the back of your head. Get good at that. And then bring your whole spine. Allow as much of yourself to participate as you would like, including your breath. If you took a deep breath and held it and then did it, does that help a little bit? It might. But your whole back line of yourself is shortening from your skull, the back of your skull, to your tailbone. And begin to notice as you continue doing this without pain, no pain, you can always go smaller. You can begin to notice that you lengthen along the whole front of yourself. Every time something shortens, the opposite lengthens. So begin to also orient towards that elongation. And then come on back. And the only side we haven't really explored is the left. So this is a choose your own adventure on the left. How do you want to shorten the distance between anywhere on your left side that you'd like? If you go super, super slow, what happens? If you do it in quick little bursts, what happens? If you just bring one little specific part in the direction that you want to go, what emerges that's new and surprising? Which way is right for you right now? And once you've explored the left side shortening to your satisfaction, imagine your whole pelvis like a bowl, and it's full all the way with water. And you're going to tip the water out the front a little bit, just a little bit. How would you do that? Just tipping, small. Maybe you need to do it large, right? Maybe you need to have a big, just to know that you're doing it. And maybe it feels great. Tipping out the back now. How do you do that? Where do you need to shorten? Where do you lengthen? Coming out of the movement each time, making each movement, each approximation new. Not holding on to the last one. Not chasing after anything of how it should be. And now tipping out the left. What instinctively comes for you? Do you lift one side of your pelvis? Do you bring your whole head along? Does your head stay more in the middle? How do you counterbalance this action of tipping your pelvis to the left, the contents of the pelvis out the left? There's a lot of ways to do it. And out the right, how do you do it? What do your feet do? How can they help you? If you were to take the pelvis just all the way in a huge circle, what do you notice there? Which parts are the most clear in this circle? Because it's not perfect. It's not a perfect circle. There are parts that are a little less clear. And what do you do with those? Do you skip over them? Do you linger there a little bit and go back and forth and reverse it there? Explore to your satisfaction the circle in both directions of tipping, rolling this bowl, noticing what happens to your head. How many options do you have? How many different ways can you shorten in a complex pattern and lengthen in a complex pattern to make this movement to your satisfaction? And once you've explored that enough, come back and rest. And check in just like you did at the beginning with this felt sense of you in this moment. And if you were to draw that with just 3 lines or less, what's the shape of your felt sense now? Thank you so much for joining me in this exploration. I hope you have a very good day.